Your baby doesn't calm down when you talk to them just because they recognize your voice. And the real reason goes much deeper than that. Have you ever noticed this? They're crying, restless, nothing seems to work. But the moment you start talking, without picking them up, without changing anything around them, something shifts. The crying softens. Their body slows down. Their breathing starts to organize, not completely, but enough to make one thing clear. Something just got regulated. And it's not just any sound. It's not background noise. It's not just your presence. It's your voice. But here's the part almost no one notices. This doesn't happen just because they recognize you, because if it did, any kind of talking would work the same way. But it doesn't. So this isn't just emotional. It's something more specific and much deeper. And the more this happens, the clearer the pattern becomes. You test it without even realizing it. You change your tone, lower your voice, pause for a few seconds, and the effect disappears. The crying comes back. The restlessness returns. Like that sense of calm depended on something that needed to keep happening, and that's when it clicks. It's not just that you're talking, it's how you're talking, the rhythm, the tone, the continuity. It's almost as if your baby isn't reacting to the sound itself, but to the way that sound is unfolding over time. And that raises a deeper question. Why does something so simple completely change their state, but only when it happens in a very specific way? And this is where the usual explanations start to fall apart. People say babies calm down because they recognize your voice, or because it makes them feel comforted. But that doesn't explain the pattern, because if it were just recognition, any talking would work. If it were just comfort, the effect would be stable. But it's not. The effect depends on the structure of the sound, the rhythm, the tone, the repetition. So this isn't just affection, it's not just bonding, and it's definitely not a conscious response, because your baby's brain isn't capable of that yet. This isn't a choice, it's a nervous system response, and once you see it that way, the question changes completely. It's no longer, why does my baby calm down when I talk? It becomes, what is your voice actually doing inside their brain that can shift their internal state like this? To really understand this, you have to shift your point of reference. Stop looking only at what your baby is doing, and start looking at what their brain is actually capable of doing right now. Your baby's brain is still under construction. The emotional system, driven by the limbic system, is already active. It detects changes, triggers alert, reacts to discomfort, but the part that organizes and regulates those sensations isn't ready yet. The prefrontal cortex, the part that, in an adult, allows you to calm down and stay stable, isn't fully functioning yet. So your baby feels and reacts, but can't self-adjust. And that changes everything, because for their brain, safety isn't an idea. It's a physical sensation, built through very specific inputs, and your voice is one of those inputs. Now here's the key point. When you talk to your baby, they're not processing words. They're processing patterns, rhythm, tone, repetition, predictability. This is called prosody, the melody of speech. And in the early months, that melody acts directly on the nervous system, because your baby can't regulate themselves yet. They rely on external signals to do it, and a voice with steady rhythm creates exactly what their brain needs: organization. It lowers their level of alert, reduces internal activation, and allows the body to slow down. But here's the crucial shift. It's not your voice itself that calms them. It's the pattern your voice creates. And this starts even before birth. For months in the womb, your baby is already exposed to constant sound patterns, especially the mother's voice, not as language, but as rhythm and vibration. This becomes one of the first maps of predictability the brain learns. And after birth, that doesn't disappear. Before they can see clearly, before they can understand the environment, they can already recognize sound patterns. And those patterns act as signals of presence. And throughout human evolution, presence has always meant safety. So the brain doesn't associate your voice with meaning. It associates it with stability. That's why when you speak with rhythm and continuity, you're not just calming your baby. You're activating a biological signal of safety that tells the brain, the environment is predictable, you can relax. When you put all of this together, something essential becomes clear. Your baby isn't just reacting to your voice. They're dealing with a conflict they don't yet know how to resolve. Their body needs to slow down, but they can't do that on their own, so they depend on external signals, and your voice, with rhythm and predictability, becomes that support. As long as that pattern continues, their system organizes, the level of alert drops, the body starts to stabilize, but the moment it stops, when the rhythm breaks, when your voice disappears, the brain has to maintain that state on its own, and it can't. So this isn't preference. Without that support, they lose the reference that was keeping everything stable, and the cycle repeats. They organize, lose the pattern, and fall into disorganization again. When you start seeing it this way, the behavior stops looking simple and starts making sense. Not as a choice, but as a nervous system response. And if their brain could translate this into words, it would sound something like this. With that rhythm, my body can slow down. When it continues, I can stay organized. When it stops, I don't know how to maintain it on my own. I'm not choosing to react this way. I just don't know how to regulate myself without help yet. And that changes everything, because it's not about what they want from you. It's about what they still can't do without you. And this is where things take a turn that almost no one talks about. The common expectation is that, over time, your baby should stop needing this, that they should learn to calm down on their own. And yes, that does happen, but not in the way most people think, because the goal was never to stop reacting. The goal is to develop the ability to regulate independently. The problem is when that lack of reaction shows up before that ability exists. When a baby stops responding, stops signaling, stops seeking. That doesn't always mean growth. Sometimes it means adaptation. The system lowers the signal, not because the need disappeared, but because it no longer expects a response. And that changes everything, because calming down to your voice isn't a small detail. It's a sign that their system is still organizing the way it's supposed to. And once you see that, everything starts to connect, because this same pattern shows up in other moments that seem completely different, but come from the exact same root. Like when your baby wakes up at night, not hungry, nothing obviously wrong, but can only fall back asleep when you step in. That's not a coincidence. It's the same system. And if you don't understand what's behind it, everything feels disconnected. But it's not. It's a pattern. And that's exactly what I break down in the next video that's about to appear on your screen. Because there, you'll understand what's actually happening inside your baby's brain during those night wakings, and why they follow the same logic you just saw here. If you want to understand this fully, not as isolated moments, but as part of one process, that next video isn't optional, it's essential. Because before words, behavior is already saying everything.